Well, ladies and gentlemen, it would seem as if President Trump has just about had enough of Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. You see, just yesterday afternoon, Jerome Powell refused to lower interest rates again, despite President Trump's economy absolutely booming. His defiance absolutely screws over everyday Americans, and the Federal Reserve's high interest rates are choking the economic growth that President Trump is igniting with his America First economic policies. Now, President Trump has been back in the White House for less than 4 months, but he's almost already entirely cleaned up the catastrophic mess that former President Joe Biden left behind. In truth, the economy is absolutely soaring right now, but Chairman Jerome Powell is holding it back with his refusal to act. But now, folks, check this out. Yesterday afternoon, Chairman of the Federal Reserve Jerome Powell actually was forced to admit that Trump's economy is absolutely stellar. Take a look.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Chairman Jerome Powell says the economy is solid, unemployment is low, and the labor market is blazing, but still, he refuses to lower interest rates. So here's the truth. Chairman Jerome Powell has absolutely no reason to block rate cuts except for a petty, partisan grudge. High interest rates are crushing American families and strangling businesses and hardworking citizens nationwide. As a result, Chairman Jerome Powell's refusal does nothing but hurt Americans across the country. His inaction keeps mortgage rates high. Small businesses are struggling to pay for business loans. The reality is, President Trump's economic renaissance is being sabotaged by Jerome Powell's refusal to act. And you know what? President Trump has actually directly called on Jerome Powell to reduce interest rates on 3 occasions in just the last couple of weeks. And by the way, he's absolutely right to demand action. Lower rates would unleash the power of American enterprise, fueling job creation as well as economic growth. Here's the reality. President Trump's policies have slashed inflation already, they've boosted employment, and they've strengthened American industries. His tariffs are protecting American workers, and now, unfair foreign competition is no longer undercutting the livelihoods of American citizens who really deserve better opportunities. As an example of all of this, President Trump's tariffs have already poured billions of dollars into our economy, defying the condescending globalist progressives who mocked his economic plan. In truth, President Trump's America First economic plan is working perfectly. In fact, I want you all to take a look at what President Trump himself had to say about all of this just the other day. But first, I do want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news updates, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. But okay, check this out. As President Trump posted just the other day on Truth Social, gasoline just broke $1.98 a gallon. Lowest in years, groceries and eggs are down, energy down, mortgage rates down, employment strong, and much more good news as billions of dollars pour in from tariffs. Just like I said, we're only in a transition stage. We're just getting started. Consumers have been waiting for years to see prices come down. No inflation. The Fed should lower its rate. And so, ladies and gentlemen, everything President Trump just said is absolutely true. Gas is more affordable than ever. Grocery prices are dropping. Jobs are soaring. His economy is a powerhouse, but Chairman Jerome Powell is holding it back with his high rate policy. But now, folks, there's actually another massive reason why President Trump wants Jerome Powell to drop interest rates that many people seem to not really know about. You see, this year in 2025, around $8 trillion worth of our national debt needs to be refinanced. And when that happens, it's going to get refinanced at whatever the Federal Reserve has set the interest rates at. So, what that means is that if Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve decide to cut rates, then President Trump could potentially refinance out hundreds of billions of dollars right out of our federal budget. Right now, our yearly national deficit is around $1.9 trillion. That's how much more we go into debt every single year. So, once again, if Jerome Powell agrees to cut interest rates, President Trump could very easily shave hundreds of billions of dollars off of our national deficit quite literally overnight. And so, folks, this is very clearly President Trump's angle right now. And frankly, if he pulls it off, it would be one of the most ingenious economic maneuvers ever pulled off in the world's entire history. So here's the truth. Chairman Jerome Powell's refusal to act isn't just stubborn, it's reckless. It's costing taxpayers billions of dollars per year. His high rates are choking American enterprise. President Trump's economic boom is being undermined by this partisan inaction. And so, right now, President Trump is fighting for lower interest rates to unleash domestic investments, boost American job creation, and to reduce our national deficit, all of which advances the America First agenda. Folks, here's the reality. If President Trump didn't have to deal with constant roadblocks from people like Jerome Powell, life would immediately become better for everyday Americans. And here's the truth. Former President Joe Biden, alongside the rest of the Democrats, left behind an absolutely destroyed economy with inflation skyrocketing and jobs disappearing. In under 4 months, President Trump has cleaned it up entirely. But despite the undeniable progress that we're all witnessing on a daily basis, Chairman Jerome Powell is still refusing to help. And of course, as all of this is unfolding, the radical progressives are losing their minds, claiming President Trump is attacking an independent Federal Reserve, when in reality, it's Jerome Powell who's effectively weaponizing the Federal Reserve to undermine President Trump's America First agenda. As you all know, for decades now, the Democrats have backed bloated bureaucracies instead of hardworking Americans. And so now they're defending Chairman Jerome Powell's blatant defiance. Really, once again, they're just doing whatever they can to undermine and subvert the mandate that we all gave President Trump in the recent 2024 election. The American people gave President Trump a landslide victory in order to revive our economy, and we're fed up with partisan holdouts like Jerome Powell, who's screwing over taxpayers with his refusal to lower rates and support the America First economic recovery. And as we've already seen, President Trump's tariffs have proven that he can revive America without crushing American families. His economic boom with cheap gas and strong jobs shows the American First economic agenda actually works. Progressives sneered, but President Trump has delivered results that we can all see day to day with our very own eyes. In contrast, Chairman Jerome Powell's refusal to act signals extreme political bias favoring progressive elites instead of ordinary Americans. His political leanings have very clearly gotten in the way of fulfilling his duty to the American people. Because keep in mind, that's his job to serve the American people, not to obstruct President Trump's America First agenda. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here's my opinion. If Chairman Jerome Powell doesn't drop rates, President Trump should just fire him. We need a Federal Reserve chair who shares our America First principles, and Jerome Powell's partisan grudges have no place in economic policy that affects every single American. Lower rates would slash our deficit and amplify President Trump's economic wins, fueling domestic job creation and American economic growth. As we can all see, his leadership is already laying the foundation for long-term American prosperity, which is something that, frankly, we haven't seen at this level for decades. So you know what? Here's the truth. Jerome Powell's inaction is going to cost us billions of dollars, and we're already paying the price. Right now, President Trump is out there fighting for American taxpayers, which is why he's demanding the Federal Reserve drop their interest rates. So, hey, I'll say it again. If Jerome Powell can't get over his own partisan political leanings, then President Trump should fire him and replace him with someone that is actually willing to help enact the America First agenda. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that is what it means to put America first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up, I do want to say real quick that we officially have a Morse News Twitter page as well as a Morse News Facebook page. So if you use either of those platforms, please go down below and drop a follow in order to get breaking news updates that relate to everything we talk about here in the YouTube videos. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there, and like I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.